Chapter 1 Making a Choice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the early morning, the sun shines on the earth. Varen Akers woke up from his bed, got out of bed, opened the window, and welcomed the rising sun. From here, you can just see training ground number 7 set up in the castle, where thousands of knights and attendants are undergoing fighting spirit training. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door, interrupting Varen's thoughts. Come in. The door was opened, and a beautiful maid appeared in front of him. She bent down to salute and said respectfully, Master Weylin, after I ask you to have dinner, go to the study to find him. I see. Upon hearing this, the maid took a few steps back, closed the door, and left. Weylin lowered his head, knowing very well that he had to make a choice this time when he went to his father's room. He has become an adult after the coming-of-age ceremony held more than 2 months ago. In addition to the established heirs, other heirs need to make choices when they reach adulthood. First, become the guardian knight of the current heir, and swear an oath never to betray under the witness of the goddess of life. Second, leave the family and become a pioneer, heading to the border areas to build your own business. The last option is to join the knights directly under the kingdom under the recommendation of the family and serve the king. If I didn't have this special soul skill, the guidance of destiny, I might have chosen the first one, stayed in the family, and waited for death. As a time traveler, Varen received a gift from fate when he came of age. After this period of exploration, he roughly figured out the special function of destiny guidance. At 8 o'clock in the evening on the first day of every month, a sweet female voice will ring in Varen's ears, telling him a valuable news. In the past 2 months, I have obtained 2 valuable pieces of information, one about myself and the other about Inching City, the territory of the Akers family. 10 minutes later, the servant delivered today's breakfast to his room. After putting on his clothes, Varen sat on the chair, quickly ate the 3 pieces of white bread and a large glass of milk in front of him, asked the valet to take away the tableware, then picked up his knight's dagger, left the room, and went to his father's study room. The castle where the Akers family lives is called Windsor Castle. The name sounds romantic, but it is a veritable war fortress. The entire castle covers an area of 8 square kilometers and is home to tens of thousands of people. In addition to hundreds of members of the Akers family and more than 200 silver knights, there are also 1,000 bronze knights and more than 6,000 trained knights. The remaining people are all servants of the castle. Weylin left the auxiliary castle where his room was located, stepped on the jade-white floor, and headed towards the main castle where his father Angus's study was. Along the way, the passing servants bowed and saluted, and Varen kept smiling and nodded in response. Half an hour later, Varen arrived at the 3rd floor of the main castle of Windsor Castle, arranged his clothes again, took a deep breath, and then knocked on the study door. Come in. A majestic voice came from the room. Weylin calmed down and opened the door. Looking at the tall and powerful figure, Weylin put his right hand on his chest, bent down and saluted. Father, good morning. Angus, the 6th-generation patriarch of Ikes and the contemporary Eagle Count, turned around, looked at his 5th son, and said with dignity in his tone, Varen, my dear son, your choice is what? Father, I choose to become a pioneer knight and add new glory to the Ikes family. Weylin straightened up, looked at his father's majestic face, and said firmly. That's out of character for you. Eagle Earl Angus stared at his son with wide eyes and asked. Father, maybe after I grow up, I will grow up and want to develop my own career like an eagle. Weylin said calmly despite the momentum of his father's golden knight. Now that his son has made his choice, Angus, as his father, is not prepared to interfere. He put away the weak momentum he exuded and answered, according to the rules set by the 1st generation of the Akers family, adult heirs are chosen. To become a pioneer knight, you can only stay in the castle for 3 months. As your father, I can allow you to stay in the castle for 1 month. After 1 month, you must leave Windsor Castle. I understand, father, if nothing happens, I'll go down first. Weylin watched his father nod in agreement, then turned to leave. Your news has saved Inching City from major losses. The rewards will be handed over to you together with the aid. Angus said suddenly while waiting for Weylin to walk to the door. Yes, father. Weylin responded again, closed the door, and left. The moment the study door closed, a shadow stalker appeared in front of Angus, knelt down on one knee, and reported, "Master, no other forces were found around Master Waylin. Do we need to investigate further? This matter ends here, all records are destroyed." Angus put his hands behind his back and ordered Shadow Stalker. "Yes, Master." As soon as he finished speaking, the Shadow Stalker figure disappeared from the room, a kind smile appeared on Angus' majestic face, and he murmured to himself, "Varen, my child, I hope you can really break into a new world and spread the glory of Ix." On the other side, after leaving his father's study, Waylin strolled in the castle and began to think about where he should go next. Before he became an adult, he had a medium talent, so he wanted to stay in the family, eat and wait for death, and spend the rest of his life without thinking about this problem. Now that he has made a choice, he must plan it well and make a good plan so as not to be like a headless fly. Next, go to Elder Miller, who manages the whereabouts of family members, to seek useful information. Waylin looked at the sky and muttered to himself, every pioneer who left the family would visit Elder Miller, the 320-year-old living fossil of the X family. However, before that, he had to go to Inching City to do something. The second message he got from the guidance of fate told him that in Inching City, 2 weeks later, in the private house number 308 in the West District of Inching City, 2 groups of people will conduct a transaction. The commodity is 2 like-minded teenagers, one with blonde hair and one with silver hair, with great potential. The highest strength of both parties in the transaction is bronze mid-level. Save the 2 teenagers, and they will become your wings. He came to the stable, asked the horse servant to lead a horse, turned over and rode on it, asked the guards to open the castle gate, drove the horse out of Windsor Castle, and headed for Inching City, 30 kilometers away. Relying on the brick and stone paved road, Waylin only took 20 minutes to reach the city, covering an area of 30 square kilometers and more than 300,000 people. As the second largest city in the territory of the X family, Inching City maintains 8,000 garrisons all year round to guard the safety of the city. Chapter 2 2 Teenagers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The officer at the city gate looked at Waylin, who was galloping, stood up from his chair suddenly, and shouted to his men, "Quick, make way, the Lord wants to pass through here." Several lazy soldiers came to their senses and acted quickly, dispersing the civilians and merchants waiting to enter the city to the side, so that the west gate could be unblocked. Waylin rode into the city at lightning speed. After seeing the Lord enter, the city gate officer asked the soldiers to continue checking and collecting taxes, and he lay back on the chair to bask in the sun. After entering Inching City, Waylin identified the direction a little and headed towards his destination. The Inching City West District Security Department. Soon, a majestic building appeared in front of Waylin. A guard standing guard at the door stepped forward and took Waylin's mount, took it to the open space next to it, and took out the best hay for the horse to recover its strength. Waylin didn't pay attention to this, and went straight into the security department and asked someone to call out the local sheriff, Chief Baker. After a while, a burly, silver-level low-level warrior wearing half-body armor walked out of the room and saluted to Waylin, who was only at the bronze intermediate level, saying, "Master Waylin, what can I do for you?" "Baker, I came to the city to do something and need to borrow a team of security soldiers from you." Waylin did not beat around the bush and directly explained his purpose. After hearing this, Sheriff Baker immediately called a soldier over and told him, "Tell the captain of the 6th team, Ackerman, to gather his people immediately and gather in the courtyard." "Yes, sir." After the soldier saluted with his chest, he immediately ran away. A few minutes later, a team of 15 soldiers wearing iron armor gathered in the yard. Among them, a middle-aged man with the same strength as Waylin appeared and saluted with his chest to Sheriff Baker. "Sir, Captain Ackerman of Team 6 reports to you." "Ackerman, next, you will follow Master Waylin to do the work." "Yes, sir." Ackerman turned to Waylin and said respectfully, "I will follow your orders, Master Waylin." Waylin looked up and down at the weathered warrior, nodded with satisfaction, and then said goodbye to Sheriff Baker, and then took 15 security personnel who were all professionals to a street in the West City District to prepare for a crackdown on gangs and seek personal gain. In a private house in the West City District of Inching City, several local gangsters were trading with 2 weirdos in black robes. "The goods you want are in this sack." The gang leader signaled his men to open the sack, revealing two teenagers inside, one with blonde hair and the other with silver hair. The two black-robed weirdos looked at each other, one of them stepped forward to check, and after confirming that it was correct, the other threw out a cloth bag, which fell to the ground, making the unique sound of gold coins. The younger brother at the side took the initiative to pick it up and respectfully placed it in the hands of his boss. The transaction is over, everyone. Suddenly, the door of the house was kicked open, and a handsome black-haired man rushed in with a dagger, shouting, "There is a traitor." "No, everyone, put down your weapons, don't move." The two groups who had just completed the transaction looked at the uninvited guest who broke in, picked up their weapons, and prepared to show each other a little color. At this moment, the leading gang leader looked at Ackerman who was following closely, his face changed drastically, and shouted loudly, "It's the security team. Go quickly." As soon as he finished speaking, the gang leader ignored it and broke the window first to escape. Then, a shrill cry came from outside the house, scaring the three gang members who had taken action. Pale, tremblingly put down their weapons, hugged their heads with both hands, and lay on the ground. Just now, that was their eldest brother's cry, and now it is obviously gone. The two strange men in black robes stepped back and drew out their swords, trying to resist to the end. Seeing this, Wei Lin waved his hand to signal Ackerman not to do anything, and prepared to deal with the two men himself. Holding the short sword tightly, he used the narrow space in the room to deal with the two men in a few moves. Ackerman stood by and watched Wei Lin's fighting process, which was simple and clear. Without any procrastination, and exclaimed, "Master Wei Lin, good swordsmanship." "Thank you." Wei Lin shook off the blood on the sword, put it into the scabbard, came to the body of a black-robed man, and took off the masks worn by the two men. Who is it that makes it so mysterious? At the same time, Ackerman also stepped forward with curiosity, and when he saw the black clover mark on the forehead of the black-robed man, his face changed drastically. "Master Wei Lin, these two bodies are related to some important events. I wonder if we can give them to them." "You can do whatever you want. This is what I want." Wei Lin came to the sack and looked at the two handsome boys up and down, which was consistent with the information he got. Surprisingly, both of them had slave marks on their foreheads. Afterwards, Wei Lin didn't waste any time, picked up the two boys and left. When passing by the door, the soldiers of the security team looked at Wei Lin holding two handsome boys and talked about it. "Master Wei Lin came all the way here, not for these two twin boys. It should be, I heard that some noble masters have." Ackerman walked out of the room, looked at his men who were gossiping, and shouted loudly, "Shut up, take these people back." The few people who were about to have an in-depth discussion immediately shut their mouths and lowered their heads to do things. On the other side, Wei Lin put the two boys on his mount, turned over and rode on it. When he was about to leave, Ackerman came forward with a bag of gold coins and asked respectfully, "Master Wei Lin, this is the seized gold coins. You divide it up. I don't want it, just consider it as a reward for my brother's hard work." "Thank you, Master Wei Lin." The other security team members heard the voice and said excitedly. After returning to Windsor Castle, Wei Lin put his mount back to the stable, hugged the two boys, and returned to his room. Along the way, the servants along the way were very surprised to see Wei Lin holding the two boys in his arms, but they didn't dare to talk about it. In the castle, talking about the master's affairs presumptuously is a sign of being impatient. Entering his room, Wei Lin put the two boys on the bed. After waiting for a while, seeing that the two still showed no signs of waking up, he turned around and left, preparing to visit Elder Miller first to seek a good direction for development. After a long journey, Wei Lin came to the entrance of the underground bunker, handed his weapon to the guard at the door, and was allowed to go underground after a body search. Looking at the dark tunnel, the wall was engraved with the family members of the X family who had made outstanding contributions and their deeds. As a family that has been passed down for 700 years, the X family now has 5 earls, 17 viscounts, and 33 barons. Where there is a distinction between the main and the secondary, the branch where Wei Lin belongs happens to be the main branch of the X family, and there are 4 other earls as branches, which together form the huge X family. All these brilliant achievements are due to the family motto formulated by the first generation of the X family, which allowed the entire Family to continue to forge ahead and achieve today's glory. In the territory of the Kingdom of Ilia, the power represented by the X family is the first among the earls, and it is even stronger than some marquis-level forces, because the conditions for inheritance of 800 years have not been met. It is impossible to promote the marquis family within the kingdom. Of course, if a legendary strongman appears in the X family, it will automatically cross this limit and become a high and mighty duke family. After walking up a kilometer-long staircase, Wei Lin came to a bright archive room. Seeing the old man dozing off next to him, Wei Lin walked over quietly and waited for him to wake up. Chapter 3: Obtaining Information. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After an unknown amount of time, the old man lying on the rocking chair slowly opened his cloudy eyes and found Wei Lin standing next to him. He showed a gentle expression on his face and asked, "Little Wei Lin, what do you want to see me for?" "Elder, I'm sorry for your kindness. I hope you can give me some guidance." Seeing this, Wei Lin bowed to show his respect, and then said respectfully, "Tell me about it." "It's like this. According to the family motto, this morning, in my father's study, I chose to become a pioneer knight. I hope you can give me some advice on where to go next." After hearing this, Miller closed his eyes and began to think. Wei Lin stood beside him, waiting quietly, without any eagerness. "There are 3 places that I think are good places to go. As for how to choose, it's up to you. Please tell me, Elder." Wei Lin took out the paper and pen that he had prepared long ago, looked at Miller intently, and waited for his next speech. "The first place is located at the northwest border of the kingdom, the Grey Wasteland, which is a good place for development. The monster race is weak, and there are 3 barons in the family in this direction, who can help you to a certain extent. The second place is located at the southwest border of the kingdom, the Leia Forest, which borders the southern principality of Lekits and the kingdom of Kuba. The danger is high, but the opportunity is great. Another earl in the family is here, you should know." Wei Lin recorded Miller's words in detail and nodded in response. "The third place is the new land in the north. The kingdom defeated the mountain dwarf kingdom 3 years ago and seized a large area of land. It is in need of personnel for development, but it is facing the counterattack of the mountain dwarves at any time. There are great risks, but there is a kingdom army guarding it, so there is no need to worry about safety issues. These 3 places are the best development directions at this stage." After completing the recording, Wei Lin found that the elder had fallen asleep again. After saying thank you silently, he left here and went back to think slowly. Before returning to the room, Wei Lin first went to the kitchen, took some white bread, and then went to the magic tower to ask the family wizard for 2 bottles of potion to remove the slave mark, and then began to walk towards his room. According to his estimation, the 2 twin boys he rescued should have woken up. When he arrived at the door of the room, Wei Lin stopped and found something wrong. Quiet, too quiet. Then, Wei Lin kicked hard and stepped back a few steps. The blonde boy who was hiding at the door and wanted to attack flew out and fell hard to the ground. The silver-haired boy who was holding a wooden stick and ready to attack was stunned on the spot and stood there stupidly. Too tender. Wei Lin stepped forward, snatched the wooden stick from the silver-haired boy, grabbed his collar, and threw it next to the blonde boy, put the food on the table, pulled out a chair, sat in front of them, and looked at them sternly. Before he could speak, the blonde boy covered his chest, endured the pain and stood up, protecting his brother behind him, with an expression of fearless death, and said loudly, "My lord, please let my brother go. I am willing to be your loyal slave." "Why do you think I will let your brother go?" Wei Lin stared at the blonde boy's eyes, looked at him coldly, showed his momentum, and deliberately put his hand on the hilt of the knight's dagger. As an ordinary human, facing the momentum released by the bronze knight, even if it was 3 levels, it was difficult for the blonde boy to support it. He gritted his teeth and supported his body, saying with difficulty, "Just because the Lord values our value, buy us back. As long as the Lord is willing to let my brother go, I am willing to be loyal to you forever. Otherwise, we would rather commit suicide and let you suffer losses." Looking at the blonde boy, Wei Lin reacted. It turned out that the 2 of them regarded him as the master who bought them. No wonder they had such a reaction. However, he was not going to tell the whole story now. because it was unnecessary. What I want is for you two to be loyal to me and become my guardian knights. What's the point of me coming here alone? To prove his words, Wei Lin drew out his knight's dagger, pointed at the blonde boy, and asked him to make the final choice: either be loyal or die. For these two young men who are like-minded and have great potential, if they can't get them, they can only be destroyed with pain. The blonde boy looked at the knight's sword shining in the sun, and then turned to look at his brother. Looking at his frightened expression, after a struggle, he finally chose to compromise. I saw him pull his brother in front of him, force him to kneel down, and he followed closely and knelt on the floor. Sir, we two brothers are willing to be your guardian knights. Okay. Wei Lin put away the knight's dagger, stood up, came to them, helped the two up, and said gently, "Don't worry, as my guardian knight, I will do my best to train you." "Thank you, sir." The blonde boy breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly thanked him. The silver-haired boy imitated his brother, bowed and said, "Thank you, sir." Goo! Hearing this cry, the blonde boy who was so resolute just now actually blushed and looked embarrassed. Wei Lin smiled and threw the food on the table to the two of them. The two of them took the food and ate it directly. A few minutes later, the blonde boy finished the food in his hand, licked his fingers, and said, "Sir, my slave's name is Orlando, and my brother's name is Hebrew." The term lowly slave is a self-proclaimed title for serfs and slaves. As my guardian knight, you can call me by my own name, or by my subordinates, or by my ministers. Yes, sir, Orlando understands. Next, Wei Lin patiently explained some common sense to the two. During the constant communication, the two gradually let go of their guard and developed a certain liking for Wei Lin. For the slave marks on their heads, Wei Lin personally applied medicine to eliminate the symbol of being slaves for them. Looking in the mirror, the two brothers found that the slave marks on their foreheads disappeared, and they were so excited that they knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Wei Lin. Seeing this, Wei Lin hurriedly helped the two up and began to explain some common sense to them. For such a master, Orlando and Hebrew looked at each other and made up their minds that as long as the Lord did not abandon them, they were willing to stay with him forever and never leave him. Afterwards, Wei Lin arranged the two in the room next to him, preparing to teach them the night awakening method tomorrow, and strive to let them enter when leaving Windsor Castle. After a day of hard work, Wei Lin lay on the bed, took out the recorded information, and began to think about which direction he should go to for exploration. Wei Lin had a general understanding of the Grey Wasteland, the Leia Forest, and the new land in the north. Chapter 4: Family Support. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a cautious person, he prefers the Grey Mang Plain. The Leia Forest and the new land in the north look like a powder keg no matter how you look at it. War may break out at any time. He does not want the foundation he has worked so hard to build to become the front line of the war. After comprehensive consideration, Wei Lin decided to choose the Grey Mang Plain. Although the distance is far, more than 5,000 kilometers away, it can be reached quickly by taking the teleportation array of the provincial capital of Xihe province, but there is an important problem, that is, he cannot carry too many people, otherwise the teleportation fee alone will cost him a lot of money. Next, practice to improve your strength, cultivate your own guardian knights, and collect information about the Grey Mang Plain. At noon the next day, Wei Lin took Orlando and Hebrew to a meditation room and taught them the awakening method of advanced knights. It took only 2.5 hours for the two to awaken their fighting spirit. This shocked Wei Lin and reminded him of the huge potential described in the Guidance of Fate. It seems that he still underestimated the meaning of the 4 words huge potential. Thinking back to the time when he used the night awakening method, it took him half a month to awaken his fighting spirit. Just as fate had told him, these two young men would become his wings. Therefore, during this period of time, cultivating feelings became the top priority, otherwise he would have no one to cry to if the talents he had cultivated with great difficulty left him. After his inspection, he found that Orlando had awakened the fighting spirit of fire attribute, and Hebrew had awakened the fighting spirit of ice attribute. After instructing the two to get familiar with the fighting spirit in their bodies here, he left the meditation room and prepared to go to the family collection room to select 2 night breathing methods suitable for the two of them with his own permission. After many inspections, Wei Lin came to the core area of Windsor Castle, the EXE family collection room. As the foundation of the family, this collection room covering an area of 400 square meters stores tens of thousands of various important books, including the Night Awakening method, the Night Breathing method and the Special Skill Learning method, in addition to a small number of magic meditation methods and magic skill books. However, as a traditional knight noble family, it is determined that the EXE family does not attach importance to magic. Coming to a bookshelf, Wei Lin began to choose a suitable night breathing method for his guardian knight. With his status, he could not choose a good night breathing method. It took half an hour to select 2 night breathing methods suitable for Orlando and Hebrew. He used the magic circle at the door to copy 2 books and left. Returning to the meditation room, Wei Lin called the 2 over, read them word by word, and taught them to practice the 2 breathing methods. The main function of the night breathing method is to transform the powerful magic energy in the air into fighting spirit through skills, continuously improve the body's capacity, and purify the quality of fighting spirit to achieve the purpose of improving strength. In the next 10 days, Wei Lin first took the 2 guardian knights to the Temple of Life to carry out the guardian knight oath process. After that, he spent all his time in the meditation room, racing against time to improve his strength. During this period, he also witnessed what a true genius is. In just half a month, the 2 stepped over the knight squire and grew into a bronze low-level knight. Now, all they lack is the training of combat skills and the experience of fighting with the enemy. On April 1st, 9720 of the glorious calendar, it was the 6th day before Wei Lin stayed in Windsor Castle. This afternoon, he received the aid list that his father Angus had sent to him, which recorded the family's aid to him this time. Various detailed information was displayed on the white paper: 80,000 gold coins, 12 intermediate magic crystals, 120 low-level magic crystals, 18 red-scaled horses with a trace of red dragon blood, a team of high-level bronze knights, with 12 people, 6 sets of excellent knight full-body armor, 18 excellent knight swords. Looking at the simple words above, the materials behind them are worth 300,000 gold coins in total. According to the broad classification of this world, all items can be roughly divided into 6 types: ordinary, excellent, excellent, extraordinary, legendary, and epic. Mythical. The Eagle territory where the X family is located has an annual tax revenue of only 3 million gold coins, just like Inqing City, which has an annual tax revenue of only 600,000 gold coins. This is equivalent to his father giving him all the taxes of the second largest city in the territory for half a year, although it includes the reward for handing in the information. It is too much. Wei Lin touched his chin and recalled that when his 4th brother left 5 years ago, the materials provided by the family were only about 150,000 gold coins. With the money saved over the years, my starting capital is 300,000 and 5,000 gold coins, which is enough for me to show my strength and survive the initial stage of development. Next, I have to go all the way by myself. Although I have this huge amount of money, I must be thrifty. Wei Lin kept reminding himself in his heart not to be confused by this huge amount of money. It was very novel for him to be the master of his own house. At night, Wei Lin sat on the bed, silently calculating the time in his heart, looking forward to the second broadcast of Destiny's Guidance. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the pleasant female voice sounded again, bringing him valuable news. 13 days later, on the road from Windsor Castle to the capital of Xihe province, there is a group of assassins lying in ambush at a place called Sahakro's Ridge, preparing to strangle the 5th son of Earl Eagle, disguised as robbers. The assassins are at the highest level of silver. It is recommended to take a detour, otherwise you will be involved in the upper-level struggle in Xihe province. Sahakro's Ridge, located in the center of Qixiong territory, is the territory of the Hax family. As the mortal enemy of the X family, it is needless to know that this group of assassins was sent by the X family to kill him. Perhaps I should set off early, take a detour, and go to the capital of Xihe province. Wei Lin put his hands behind his head, lying on the bed, and began to make preliminary plans in his mind. At noon the next day, Wei Lin came to the number 3 training ground of Windsor Castle, an open space covering an area of 600 square meters. Here, the assistance provided by the X family to Wei Lin was placed. In the center of the training ground, 12 high-ranking bronze knights in iron armor stood there, waiting for the arrival of the people they were loyal to. As the captain of this team of bronze knights, Baird was very confused. Although Master Wei Lin had a good reputation in the castle, was kind and sincere, and did not have the common problem of nobles being arrogant and conceited, he was very lazy and looked like he was just waiting to die. As a result, when most of the other descendants of eagle nobles of the same period were promoted to high-ranking bronze, or even low-ranking silver, he was still hovering at the middle-ranking bronze. Chapter 5 Arrival at the capital of Xihe province. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, as the night guards assigned to Master Wei Lin by Earl Eagle, they must fulfill their responsibilities to repay the Axe family for their training. At the edge of the training ground, Wei Lin looked at the 12 knights 200 meters away from a distance, and he already knew in his heart that these were the guards entrusted to him by the family. He walked towards them while observing. These 12 people were very young, roughly between 24 and 28 years old, which was enough to show their good talents. If nothing unexpected happened, the 12 people entrusted to him by the family would be his right-hand men in the future. As far as Wei Lin knew, it was absolutely impossible to train a team of bronze knights from scratch without spending tens of thousands of gold coins. And the talents of the 12 people trained had to be better, otherwise no matter how they were trained, they would be a bunch of waste. The priest of the goddess of life standing by saw Wei Lin coming, raised his staff, and said in a deep voice, under the witness of the goddess of life, the oath begins. Draw the sword. Baird heard the words and ordered loudly. The other 11 people drew their knight swords, placed them on their chests, and saluted Wei Lin. Seeing this, Wei Lin also drew out the short sword he carried with him, placed it vertically in front of his chest, and looked at the 12 people seriously. I, Baird. I, Andrew. Swear on my own honor, under the witness of the goddess of life, I swear to do my best to fight for the man in front of me, fulfill my duties, abide by the spirit of chivalry, and where his sword is, that is my direction. I, Wei Lin, as the object of your oath, accept your loyalty and never leave you. Please bear witness to the goddess of life. A sacred light flashed, covering the 13 people. An invisible bond connected the fate of the 12 people to Wei Lin. The oath is completed, the great goddess of life will protect you. The old priest announced the end, and then went down to rest under the guidance of a butler. The 13 people put their swords into the scabbards at the same time, and the oath came to an end. From this moment on, the 12 bronze high-level knights shared the fate of Wei Lin, and they rose and fell together. Everyone, you chose me, I will not let you down. Wei Lin scanned the 12 people and memorized their faces. Then, he went straight to the box where the weapons were stored, opened the lid, and revealed the excellent knight's long sword stored inside. As your suzerain, this is my gift to you. In addition, each of you can choose one of the red phosphorus horses here as your mount. I hope you can become my sword and open up my territory for me. Thank you, my lord. The 12 people answered in unison. In a window of the main castle where they could not see, Earl Eagle witnessed all this with his own eyes. Angus was very pleased with the actions of his 5th son. For those who are loyal to you, you must be generous and not stingy, so that you can gather the minds of your men in the shortest time. On the battlefield, it is always your knight who blocks the sword for you. Your wife, your children, and even your brothers, can't do this for you. This is the truth that Angus has gradually realized in the past 30 years. Go down and prepare. We will set off tomorrow morning, leaving Windsor Castle and heading for the provincial capital of Xihe province. I will follow your instructions. The 12 people beat their chests with their right hands, bowed their heads slightly, and said respectfully, watching their backs as they left. Wei Lin began to lightly count the remaining things. After making sure everything was correct, he ordered the servants to move these things to the carriage outside the secondary castle where he lived. Afterwards, he went to the main castle to bid farewell to his mother. After all, it was unknown how long it would take for them to meet again after this separation. For example, the 4th brother who left 5 years ago has never come back once and has been struggling in an unknown place. If you don't make a sound, you'll be amazing. This is Wei Lin's evaluation of his 4th brother. His perseverance and talent are worthy of this 8-word evaluation. I kept thinking about how to say goodbye to my mother. Unconsciously, I came to the door of my mother's room, gently opened the door and watched my mother Alyssa sitting on the windowsill, weaving the scarf in her hand with the help of the sun. The head maid standing next to her saw Wei Lin coming, lowered her head and whispered something. Alyssa stopped what she was doing, raised her head and looked at Wei Lin. For some reason, she had thought of many words in her mind, but she couldn't speak them for a while. Mother, I will leave tomorrow. Well, I know, my young eagle has grown up and is going to fly high. I have my own goals to strive for. I hope you can return with glory. That day will come, mother. Wei Lin walked forward, hugged his mother, and said goodbye for the last time. Thousands of words were gathered in this hug. After an unknown amount of time, Wei Lin took the scarf his mother gave him and left her room. After that, he went to his father's study and told him the fact of leaving, and received his advice and blessings. After saying goodbye to his parents, Wei Lin returned to his room and asked his two underage guardian knights to pack up and prepare to leave tomorrow, on April 3rd. 9720 of the glorious calendar, at the east gate of Windsor Castle, Wei Lin, wearing a light cloth armor and riding on a tall red phosphorus horse, looked at a corner of Windsor Castle and shouted, "Let's go." Under his command, 6 carriages, 12 knights of the escort team, and 2 underage guardian knights formed a simple convoy, left Windsor Castle, and headed towards the capital of Xihe province. Xihe province is located in the southern hinterland of the Kingdom of Ilia, with an area of 950,000 square kilometers. There are 2 marquisates, 3 earls, and more than 100 viscounts and barons sandwiched between the 5 major noble territories, distributed at the junction, acting as a buffer zone. In order to avoid the Sahaklos Mountains in Tiexiong territory, Wei Lin decided to take a detour from the nearby Shanlin territory to avoid the interception of hostile forces on the road and head to Xihe province. Although this would take more than 200 kilometers, it was better than having his budding power wiped out in one pot. More than 10 days later, after a journey of 600 kilometers, Wei Lin and his party arrived safely at the capital of Xihe province, a large city directly governed by the royal family of the kingdom, covering an area of 400 square kilometers, with a jurisdiction of 10,000 square kilometers and a population of more than 2 million. Caressing his mount, Wei Lin looked up at the 30-meter-high wall of the capital of Xihe province, which was 3 meters higher than the Tower of Windsor Castle. In the sky, Griffin Knights flew by from time to time. He remembered that the X family also supported a Griffin Knight group with 120 people, and each member was a mid-level silver. In this world, from bottom to top, all professions can be broadly divided into apprentice, bronze, silver, gold, soul, legend, etc. As for the extraordinary level later, he didn't know it now. Chapter 6, Harvesting the Mysterious Sphere. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Walking on the exclusive passage for nobles, Wei Lin's convoy was traveling smoothly. Compared with the crowded passages in other passages, the speed was many times faster. At this moment, a businessman stood on the roof of the car and waved to Wei Lin and his group. Seeing this scene, Wei Lin waved the convoy to stop, patted the horse's butt and leaned forward, with a serious face, and asked, "Businessman, what do you want?" "Your Excellency, please forgive my offense." The businessman hurriedly got out of the car, knelt on the ground, and told Wei Lin. When other people in the passage saw this scene, they lowered their heads and moved forward without paying any attention. The less you pay attention to these things, the safer you will be and will not be angered by the nobles. "I forgive your rudeness." Wei Lin was very curious, but his face remained calm, and he said to the merchant, "Sir, thank you for your kindness." The businessman got up from the ground and continued, "My name is too taboo, so I take the liberty to wave to you, hoping to join your convoy." Wei Lin glanced to the side and found that there were 8 carriages in the merchant's fleet. With his status, he could be exempted from the city entry tax for 20 carriages. His current fleet had a total of 6 carriages, which meant that there were still 14 more. The number of places in the carriage, the businessman officially saw this, and then risked his life to wave to Wei Lin. In this world, unless you are strong enough to ignore the secular rules, you can only humble yourself when facing nobles. "So, what price are you willing to pay?" But when the merchant heard this, he looked happy and said hurriedly, "Sir, as long as you help me, I can provide you with 2 high-quality half-elves." Half-elf? Wei Lin frowned when he heard these 3 words. The southeastern border of the Kingdom of Ilia borders a half-elf kingdom. It is powerful and slightly stronger than the Kingdom of Ilia. Therefore, the kingdom officially prohibits the capture and sale of half-elves. However, regulations are regulations, and there are still many people who take desperate risks for the sake of profit. Obviously, the businessman in front of him is this kind of person. In addition, many nobles from various places also participated in it, forming a huge industrial chain. The royal family also turned a blind eye to this situation and secretly ordered the provinces and cities directly under the central government to collect heavy taxes in order to make a profit. The merchant noticed the change in Welin's expression and thought that the other party was not satisfied with the price, so he immediately prepared to increase the price, but before he could speak, Varen took the lead and said, "I'm not interested in the half-elf you offered. Sir, this is a small offense. I am willing to give you." The businessman wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Listen, businessman." Welin interrupted him unceremoniously and said, "If you have something that interests me, I can let you join my fleet to avoid the high city entry tax. According to the convention of major cities in the kingdom of Ilia, the half-elf entry tax is generally 10% of the total value of the slave." After hearing this, the businessman had a look of pain on his face. He looked back at his fleet, gritted his teeth, took out 2 balls from his arms, and handed them to Welin respectfully. "Sir, this is what I got by accident. I hope you appreciate it, and I'm willing to make up for it with gold coins." Welin took the 2 balls from the merchant's hands and slowly injected fighting energy into them. There was a slight reaction, but he soon regained his composure. Although the reaction was small, he was still aware of it. It can be seen from the expression of the merchant that this thing is of great value, but it still needs to be extorted. After all, the slave merchant's money should not be lost in vain. "Businessmen, you can join my fleet, but you still need to make up 1,000 gold coins to get this opportunity." "Thank you, sir." "Thank you, sir." The businessman looked excited and took out 10 100 gold coin exchange coupons from his pocket. They were issued by the Royal Bank of the Kingdom of Ilia and were engraved with miniature magic circles and special marks to ensure authenticity. Varen took it in his hand, inspected it carefully, put it in his pocket together with the 2 balls, and drove the red phosphorus horse away from here. Seeing this, the businessman hurriedly ordered his men to follow Welin's convoy and go through the noble passage to the city gate. The officer at the gate of the provincial capital of Xihe province looked at the eagle flag of the Ix family on the Varen carriage, waved his hand to stop the city guards from inspecting, and allowed them to pass. "Sir, this slave trader has 8 carriages, at least more than 30 half-elves. If the city entry tax is charged, it will be at least 3,000 gold coins." The secretary on the side watched the Varen motorcade passing by and asked in confusion, "Do you think I don't want to?" The city gate official slapped the secretary on the head and said angrily, "That is the eagle flag of the Ix family. It is not a small noble that can be bullied at will. It represents the West River province. One of the 5 major forces. Do I dare to collect taxes? Sir, I am greedy." The clerk hurriedly admitted his mistake and did not dare to defend himself. After entering the provincial capital of Xihe province, Welin looked at the bustling streets around him and refreshed his outlook. After living in Windsor Castle for 18 years, he had not gone out much, and since he was not an heir, the family would not force him to engage in social activities. He also enjoyed leisurely life and developed a lazy character. There are all kinds of shops on both sides of the street, including magic scrolls, staffs, magic crystals, the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts, etc. "Lord, do we want to stay in the provincial capital for a few days?" Baird, the captain of the night guard, stepped forward and asked Varen. "No, go directly to the teleportation array. It's not too late to rest in the provincial capital of Carrot province, the border province of Grey Mango Wasteland." Welin waved his hand, signaling the convoy to follow, and he did not plan to stay in the provincial capital of Xihe province. He had already made a budget. Staying in the provincial capital for 1 night would cost at least 100 gold coins, which could buy at least 2 serfs. At the beginning of the business, the province had to be saved. 2 hours later, Welin brought his convoy to a giant building. A middle-aged man in a wizard robe stepped forward and saluted Welin. "Greetings, sir." "Greetings, sir." Welin performed a standard noble etiquette. "My convoy needs to be teleported, and the destination is the provincial capital of the border province of Karad. Please wait." Then, the wizard called 2 wizard apprentices to come forward to check, record the information on a white paper, and make an estimate. 5 minutes later, the middle-aged wizard handed Wei Lin a piece of paper full of information. "Sir, this is the estimated fee. According to the rights enjoyed by the X family, you only need to pay 80% of the fee." "Thank you." Wei Lin took a quick look and found that the teaching fee he needed to pay was 6,000 gold coins. After thanking the middle-aged wizard, he led people through the magic circle inspection and entered the giant building. Wei Lin handed his red phosphorus horse to Orlando, took the gold note of 10,000 gold coins, and went to the toll collection place not far away. The red-haired woman sitting at the toll collection place looked at Wei Lin who was coming, put away her lazy side, and sat upright. "Madam, this is the fee bill." Wei Lin handed the paper given to him by the middle-aged wizard to the red-haired woman, and took out the eagle badge representing the X family and placed it in front of her. After the red-haired woman went through a process, Wei Lin handed her the gold note of 10,000 gold coins. "Sir, do you want gold coins or gold notes?" Faced with the red-haired woman's question, Wei Lin thought for a while and answered, "Gold notes of 5,000 gold coins, 200 gold coins." "Please wait." The red-haired woman typed a string of information on a magic phone, which looked very familiar to him. Finally, Wei Lin walked towards his convoy with a gold note of 5,000 gold coins and a beautiful cloth bag of 200 gold coins. Chapter 7, Cadero Province. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After waiting for half an hour, Wei Lin and his 15-member team, 18 red phosphorus horses, 12 nags, and 6 carriages loaded with goods entered the teleportation area. 4 mages standing at the 4 corners of the teleportation array began to inject magic into the surrounding instruments. A few seconds later, a large number of magic arrays appeared around. Suddenly, a white light flashed. After an unknown period of time, Wei Lin felt his vision recover. He looked around and saw the dilapidated scene. He knew that this should be the capital of Karad province. Compared with the busy scene in the teleportation area of the capital of Xihe province, this place seemed very deserted. After everyone recovered, Wei Lin led the convoy to leave the teleportation area. As soon as they walked out of the hall where the teleportation array was located and came to the streets in the central urban area of the capital of Karad province, everyone was disappointed. There was human and animal feces everywhere, and the stench made people feel nauseous. There were gangsters everywhere, extortion patrol officers, and submissive civilians and small vendors. "My lord, this is the capital of Karad province. The environment here is worse than the most dilapidated slums in Yinqing city." Baird, the captain of the night guard, was shocked and dared not speak. "Why is it so chaotic here?" Wei Lin covered his mouth and nose and said in shock. It was completely inconsistent with the image of a province. He really didn't expect that a provincial capital would look like this, or perhaps, this is the real side of this world. Cities like the provincial capital of Xihe province and Yinqing city are exceptions. "My lord, where are we going next?" Hearing this, Wei Lin took out a map from his arms. It was a map of the entire territory of Karad province. It was very simple and only marked the approximate geographical location. Compared with the 950,000 square kilometers of Xihe province, Karad province only has 150,000 square kilometers, with more than 40 viscounts and barons, and a population of about 1.9 million, which is equivalent to 1/3 of the population of the Eagle territory of the X family. Go to the provincial capital's administrative building to register first, and then visit my cousin Baron Olcott to learn about the local situation. Looking at the map of Gut territory, 200 kilometers away from the provincial capital of Karad province, Wei Lin closed the map and told Baird, walking on the road full of feces. Wei Lin felt sick. "I really don't know how these people live here. The provincial capital of Cadero province is very small. It takes more than 10 minutes to reach the East City district where the administrative building is located. It's called an administrative building, but it's actually a 2-story stone house with a layer of white ink on the outside." Standing at the door, Wei Lin saw that the wall was gray no matter how he looked at it, and it tended to be close to black. "Stop, where are you from, country bumpkin? Don't you have eyes? Is this the place you should come to?" The guard standing guard at the door saw Wei Lin, who was dressed simply, raised the inferior spear in his hand, and said contemptuously, "Insolent." Bailder, standing behind Wei Lin, directly drew out the knight's sword. ready to kill the rude guard. How dare you attack? The guard stepped back and shouted, "Come here, someone is invading the administrative building." Soon, a dozen guards and a knight hurried out of the building, stood on the steps, and looked at the group below. Seeing this, the knights behind Wei Lin drew their swords, stood in front of him, and confronted the guards here. "Who are you? How dare you break into the administrative building?" After hearing the soldier's report, the leading knight stared at Wei Lin and his group with a bad look, took out the signal magic scroll, and was ready to fire it immediately. "Let's not talk about who we are for now. Your guard insulted a noble like this. Even if I kill him on the spot, His Majesty the King can't say anything." Wei Lin looked at the knight with a sharp look and said in a deep voice. After hearing this, the knight suddenly saw the flag hanging on the carriage in the distance, his face changed drastically, and he stared at the guard fiercely, but now he couldn't leave the hotel. He represented the face of the governor of Karad province and couldn't give in easily. "I know what you are thinking. I don't want to cause any trouble. Hand the guard to me and let me deal with it. This will be over. Otherwise, the governor of Cadero province will not be able to bear the consequences." "Sir, what you said." A wealthy middle-aged man came out of the administrative building. He just said half of his words, looked at the eagle flag, swallowed the second half of the sentence, turned his head and ordered the knight, "Hand over the guard to this knight." "But, Governor, he..." "Didn't you hear me?" The middle-aged man shouted loudly. "Yes." The knight was unwilling, but facing the governor's order, he could only wave his hand to let his subordinates disarm the guard just now and escort him to Wei Lin. Looking at the soldier in front of him, he showed fear on his face, and he seemed to have lost his arrogant look just now. Wei Lin drew out the dagger and stabbed him in the chest, killing the guard in front of Governor Cadero. "Governor, I'm sorry." "It's okay, young eagle of the X family, welcome to Cadero province." The middle-aged man twitched his mouth and said in a calm tone. After that, Wei Lin stayed outside the administrative building, waiting for the information registration to be completed. About 10 minutes later, a staff member held a token in both hands, with the words tourism engraved on the front and Wei Lin's basic information recorded on the back, and handed it to him respectfully. "Governor, goodbye. Farewell." The middle-aged man made a standard noble return gift, but in his heart he hoped not to see him next time. After waiting for Wei Lin to leave, the knight who had remained silent asked, "Governor, this is our territory. Why should we be afraid of him, a foreign nobleman?" The middle-aged man put away the smile on his face and said in a deep voice, "If it were other noblemen, it would be easy to deal with, but for the X family, they are a group of mad dogs. Try not to provoke them." Looking at the knight who was still asking questions, the middle-aged man said directly, "Okay, continue to maintain vigilance. The dead guard will be compensated according to the minimum standard for the dead. In addition, tell your people to be more obedient and don't cause trouble again." "Yes, sir." The knight was unwilling, but he had no choice but to do so. After leaving the administrative building, Wei Lin did not stop and took his men away from the provincial capital of Cadero province, although the governor who was exiled here did not dare to take action due to the reputation of the X family. But it is better to be safe than sorry. He did not want to gamble on the other party's mind. As soon as he left the town, Baird rode his horse to Wei Lin and asked in confusion, "My lord, why don't you give an order to let me kill the knight and the 13 guards together? Everything has a limit. Don't go too far, otherwise the other party will end up in trouble. Be careful not to be destroyed by us." After hearing this, Baird's face was full of doubts. "What are these things?" Seeing the confused captain of the night guard, Wei Lin sighed and comforted, "Don't worry about these things, just focus on leading the troops." "Yes, my lord." Looking at these politically insensitive knights, Wei Lin decided to find a domestic affairs talent in the development. Chapter 8 Gut Territory, Baron Olcott. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gut territory covers an area of more than 3,500 square kilometers, mostly plain terrain, and has a population of more than 90,000 people. It is the top aristocratic force in the Carad province, the lord of this place is Olcott Acres, a fifth-generation member of the Acres family and the same generation as Varen's father. Thanks to the tradition of the Acres family, every Acres descendant has received a good education. Especially those who choose to open up the path of knighthood are motivated by the hope of building a career and honoring their ancestors. After coming to Cadero province for more than 50 years, Olcott relied on his own hard work and struggle to build this foundation from scratch. Sir, a guard came to report that your nephew Varen was visiting, and attached a letter to prove it. An elderly housekeeper walked in and asked Olcott, who was in his 70s and still looked middle-aged. Report, as a high-level silver knight, he has only experienced half of his life journey, and he still has at least 65 years left to live. As long as there is a breakthrough, the lifespan can be increased by 200 years in an instant. Olcott was confused and took the letter. It was indeed the family crest, but he had not returned to the family for more than 20 years. Although there were letters exchanged during this period, most of them were about official business. After opening the letter and looking at the hidden markings, he confirmed that the person who came was indeed his nephew, and then began to read the introduction above to understand the basic information. Call Cowl and come with me to greet my nephew. Olcott arranged his clothes and ordered the butler. Yes, sir. The butler stepped forward to help Olcott organize his clothes, then stepped back to invite Cowl, the first in line of succession. At this moment, at the entrance to Xihe City, the central town of Xihe territory, Wei Lin looked at the clean and tidy environment around him, with a family style. Observing the surrounding residents, they were rosy-cheeked and well-nourished, much better than the common people under the rule of several nobles along the way. Baird, it seems that my cousin is a man with great ambitions. My lord, you are right. Baird, the captain of the Night Guard, replied. Not long after, a middle-aged strong man walked towards Wei Lin at a fast pace, followed by several knights and a steward. First meeting, uncle, I am Varen Acres, the fifth son of the current Earl of Eagle. Varen stepped forward, bowed slightly and saluted, expressing his respect to his elders. Nice to meet you, Varen. How is Lord Angus doing lately? Olcott laughed and responded to Varen. Everything is fine, the Eagle leader is getting stronger and stronger under my father's governance. Come, let me introduce to you, this is my best son, Cowl. Olcott took Varen's hand and introduced him cordially. I've met my cousin. Wei Lin subconsciously stretched out his right hand. Cowl was stunned for a moment, then stretched out his right hand to shake hands with Varen. Olcott was also very curious about this novel way of saying hello, but as an elder, it was difficult for him to ask. By the way, uncle and cousin, it's our first time meeting you. I have a gift for you. Seeing this, Orlando walked forward with an exquisite gift box, slowly opened it, revealing 3 intermediate magic crystals placed inside. It's too expensive. Olcott said in surprise, startled by Varen's gift. In Cadero province, 1 intermediate magic crystal is worth 5,000 gold coins, and these 3 are equivalent to 15,000 gold coins. The annual tax for his territory is only 30,000 gold coins. Uncle, I'm serious. I'm here for the first time and I need to get some news. I can't do this without your help. Wei Lin responded with a smile, his face full of sincerity. Baron Olcott was polite, and then asked the butler to accept the 3 intermediate magic crystals. He cordially held Varen's hand and walked towards the castle in the center of Xihe City. Along the way, Baron Olcott showed unprecedented enthusiasm for Varen. Wei Lin, the most important thing in developing a place is manpower. In return, I will give you 200 serfs, 20 carts of grain, 200 spears, and a detailed map of Cadero province. Thank you very much, Uncle Olcott. Varen said with a smile on his face. He happened to be short of someone, so he came here. Arriving at Xihe Castle, a banquet was quickly held. In the castle hall, the banquet was attended by 14 knights under Varen and more than 60 knights under Olcott. As the protagonist of the banquet, Wei Lin attracted much attention, with no less than 30 beautiful girls ogling him. However, for him, he will not consider his marriage before he is 30 years old. Unless there are enough exciting interests, he can make an exception. For this reason, he also rejected all the one-night stands proposed by these girls. Wei Lin, actually you can, well, relax a bit. Kuel raised his glass, came to Waylin's side, and said with a smile. No, cousin, as a loyal knight, premarital sex is a blasphemy against marriage. Kuel looked at his serious cousin and smiled awkwardly. Okay, then I won't bother you. Looking at his cousin leaving, Waylin shook his head and smiled without saying anything. Everyone has his own freedom, why does he care so much? Soon, the banquet was over, and Varen entered Baron Olcott's study, held a candlelight conversation for 2 hours, and then went to rest under the leadership of a servant. As late at night approached, Waylin lay in bed, thinking about the specific direction to go next. According to the information obtained from Baron Olcott, the best direction to open up at this stage is the southwest of the Grey Wasteland. There are many plains and resources in that place, but relatively speaking, there are many low-level monsters, which makes it very difficult to open up. Waylin is not in a hurry to decide which direction to open up. He plans to visit the other 2 barons of the X family in the next half-month to obtain more information and then make a decision. After staying in gut territory for 3 days, Waylin bid farewell to his uncle Olcott. With the other party's warm farewell, Waylin took his subordinates and serfs to the next destination. These 200 serfs are all young and middle-aged men. In the market of Cadero province, one can be sold for 33 gold coins. They can be used as cannon fodder to charge into battle, and they can also be used as slaves to open up the wilderness and plant good fields for him. Due to the increase in the number of people in the caravan, Waylin can only slow down to take care of the serfs' legs and feet. Fortunately, there was Baird, the knight captain who was proficient in military knowledge. Under his command, the 200 serfs were divided into 20 teams, each doing their own thing. Without panic, as time passed, the 200 serfs looked more and more like an army, but it was unknown how strong they were in actual combat. May 1st, 9720 of the glorious calendar, an important day. At night, Waylin sat by the fire, waiting quietly. The moon was hanging high in the sky, and the time soon came to 8 o'clock in the evening, and the pleasant female voice sounded in his ears. Again, window, _tabula equals window, _tabula dot push, mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, tabula, below, article, thumbnail, 300x250, placement, below article thumbnail, 300 by 250, target _type, mix. Chapter 9 Encountering Robbers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A goblin king appeared in the southwest of the Grey Wasteland. He is integrating the goblins in the area and preparing to retaliate against the humans who have devoured their homes. It is expected to launch an attack plan against the southern part of the Cadero province within a year. You can't go to the southwest for the time being. That I thought the information given by my cousin was useful, but I didn't expect that the hidden dangers in the southwest were so great. Waylin shook his head helplessly. Orlando, who was standing aside, looked at Waylin's lost look and came over to ask, Master, I wonder if there are any problems that require Orlando to share. Okay, I'm fine. You just need to practice hard now so that you can help me in the future. Waylin looked at the boy, rubbed his golden hair, and asked him to continue training and practice skills so as not to be like an empty shell. At this time, the captain of the night guard, Baird, came over and reported to Waylin, My lord, according to the map provided by Baron Olcott, the road ahead is a place where bandits are frequent. We must strengthen our vigilance. Well, the reconnaissance and escort work along the way is handed over to you. You can take this opportunity to capture a group of slaves. After all, the most important thing for development is manpower. My lord, please rest assured. I will make proper arrangements. On the road that Waylin must pass, a group of bandits gathered together. Hundreds of people held swords and knives, lying in the bushes on both sides of the road, greedily looking at the middle of the road, looking forward to the arrival of the big fat sheep. Boss Cook, there are still 30 minutes, and the group of fat sheep will pass here. A bandit ran over and reported to the bandit leader Cook who led the operation. Tell the brothers to get ready. As long as you succeed, there will be enough men, women, and drinks tonight. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding bandits cheered. Amid the scolding of the bandit leader Cook, they fell silent again. quietly waiting for the prey to enter the encirclement. Half an hour later, a team appeared on the road and slowly approached the ambush site of the bandits. Velen rode on his horse and looked around, feeling something was wrong. "Bailed, do you think it's too quiet around here?" "My lord, it's true. I'm afraid there's an ambush. Do you want to stop moving forward and let the knights investigate?" Baird drove his horse forward and came to Wayleen's side. He looked around with a sharp eye and then answered. "No, those bandits should hide in the bushes in front. Let others prepare for battle." "Yes, my lord." Slowly, the convoy got closer and closer to the ambush site of the bandits. The bandit leader looked at the huge convoy, especially the 200 militiamen holding spears, and began to retreat. He advised the bandit leader Cook, "Boss, there are so many people on the other side, should we?" "Shut up, this is what the superiors told us to do, and we must complete it. Besides, they are all serfs, just empty shells. What are you afraid of? If you dare to say these words again, I will cook you." Yes, boss, I know." The bandit leader looked at the bandit leader Cook in fear and said in fear, he saw with his own eyes that the boss cooked and ate several colleagues who disobeyed him, so he didn't dare to touch the leader's bad luck. Looking at the convoy getting closer and closer, the bandit leader Cook held his breath, held the mace tightly, and stared at the front, waiting for the best opportunity. "Kill!" With an order, hundreds of bandits stood up from the bushes and rushed towards the convoy regardless of everything. "Meet the enemy." The captain of the night guard, Baird, drew his knight's sword and roared. Led by their respective squad leaders, the 200 serfs quickly formed two lines of defense with the support of 26 carriages. Although they were a little flustered during the process, Waylin was very satisfied and no longer asked for anything. After all, they were just serfs who had been trained for less than half a month. How could they be compared with professional armies? The 11 knights outside the square drew their swords and drove the red phosphorus horses forward to face the robbers head-on. Crack! More than a dozen heads flew up, and the headless bodies of the robbers who rushed in the front fell to the ground after running a few steps. Facing the 11 bronze knights, the robbers, who were mostly ordinary people, had no power to fight back. Seeing this, the bandit leader Cook, who was standing in the crowd, waved his mace and approached one of the knights, ready to kill one first to stabilize the morale of these bastards. After killing 2 bandits, Knight Andrew found a strong bandit who wanted to attack by surprise, and secretly accumulated strength. Bandit leader Cook saw the opportunity, pushed the ground hard, and accelerated suddenly. Crack! The head flew high, and the bandit leader Cook was excited, but why he was getting higher and higher, and the headless corpse was like his own body. As a bronze mid-level warrior, Cook died on the battlefield. The bandits around saw such a powerful boss being killed by the opponent with a sword, and they immediately scattered in all directions. Baird took this opportunity to order the serfs to attack, assist the knights, and strangle the remaining bandits standing in the center of the square. Waylin watched the battle without suspense. He didn't even get close to the square formed by the serfs, but was killed and scattered by the 11 knights. I don't know how to evaluate it. I can only say that the bandits in Cadero province are too stupid. They have no strength and still learn to rob others. It's really stupid. The battle only lasted 8 minutes before it ended. The next step was to capture prisoners. My lord, 43 bandits were killed and 57 were captured. Baird came to Waylin and reported. Velen stepped forward and patted Baird on the shoulder, praising loudly, "Your bravery proves your loyalty." At this time, 2 bandit leaders were brought up by 4 serfs and escorted to Waylin, waiting for interrogation. "Tell me, who is your leader, and who instructed you to ambush us?" Baird drew out his long sword and put it on the neck of a bandit leader. "Sir, our leader is called Cook, and he just died at the hands of your knight. As for who instructed us, I don't know." Looking at the sharp knight's long sword, the bandit leader trembled and answered. Velen stared at the bandit leader who answered and waved his hand. Seeing this, Baird directly pierced the bandit leader's throat and blood gushed out. Another bandit leader looked at his dead companion and Baird, who was about to take action, and said loudly, "My lord, I know. There is a noble behind us. Only our boss knows who it is. He was just killed by you." Please spare my life. It seems that hyenas are targeting us. My lord, there are only a few nobles in this area. If you inquire about their reputation along the way, the worst one may be the mastermind behind the scenes. Baird, the captain of the night guard, cut off the head of another bandit leader with a sword and said to Waylin. Chapter 10 Baron Brian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, it could be the one with the best reputation. Waylin, who knew the trick, shook his head and said to Baird. My lord, why is this? Baird shook off the blood on the knight's sword, put it into the scabbard, and asked in confusion. There are many things in this, and it will be difficult to explain it to you in a short time. When the enemy comes, the general will fight, and when the water comes, the earth will cover it. When we encounter any difficulties, we can just use the long sword in our hands to smash it. Seeing that Waylin was unwilling to elaborate, Baird stopped asking, returned to the caravan, reorganized the team, and prepared to set off. Waylin looked at the corpses of the robbers in the wilderness, his eyes were deep, and he kept thinking, in the next few days of the journey, Waylin did not encounter robbers. Perhaps these hyenas knew that the caravan was strong and did not want to suffer losses for no reason, so they chose to give up. After crossing the wilderness, they finally arrived at their second destination, the ridge of Baron Brian's territory. Before Waylin stepped into the ridge territory, Baron Brian learned of their tracks, as Brian, who had just been developing for 6 years, was in the rising stage of his career and was very sensitive to the surrounding environment. After all, a team of more than 200 people was very conspicuous at the border of the grey wilderness. Waylin, who was walking in front of the team, looked at the dust in the distance, condensed his fighting spirit in his eyes, and found that a large group of people were approaching them, and then ordered Baird and others to prepare for battle. The one in front is Cousin Waylin. A rough voice came, which made him let down his guard a little, and drove his horse forward to meet him. The man was wearing loose clothes, with a knight's long sword hanging around his waist, surrounded by several knights and more than 30 knight attendants. Cousin, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you very much. How are you doing recently? Waylin drove his horse forward and saw that Brian's face was no different from when he left Windsor Castle 6 years ago. Welcome to you, Waylin. Brian got off the horse, opened his arms, and hugged Waylin fiercely, showing great enthusiasm. Cousin, I need to talk to you for a few days. I hope you don't mind. If you want to, Alec is visiting my castle. We can have a good exchange then. When Waylin heard that the third person he was going to visit was in Brian's castle, he was overjoyed. Orlando, take the second wooden box from the second carriage. Orlando, who was standing behind Waylin and leading the horse, came to the second carriage and came to the two of them with a heavy box. Waylin stepped forward and opened the wooden box, revealing the full body armor of the excellent knight inside. Baron Brian looked at the glittering armor and his eyes almost popped out. Cousin, how about this gift? What should I do? I will be disrespectful to refuse it. Baron Brian stepped forward and stroked the full body armor of the excellent knight that belonged to him, just like comforting his woman. Hearing his contradictory words, he was still the familiar person, without much change. Perhaps because there were outsiders around, Baron Brian felt that he had lost his composure. He coughed a few times to cover up the awkward atmosphere, then had someone carry the box away and said, Velen, come on, I'll take you to my castle. I'm going to hold a good banquet for you tonight. Cousin Brian, I'm looking forward to it. Baron Brian led the way in front and led Velen and his party to his castle. After a journey of more than 10 kilometers, the party came to a small but practical war fortress. The walls of the castle were full of barbs to prevent creatures from climbing into the castle. In addition, there were more crossbows on the walls than expected. In the open space not far from the castle, there were thousands of young and strong men who were trained by several knights to perform simple thrusts. Looking at their clothes, they should be civilians in the Ridge territory. Baron Brian followed Waylin's gaze and explained with a smile, Waylin, the border area is not peaceful. These are all preparations for dealing with monster raids. Cousin, you have made great achievements in the past 6 years. That's natural. Don't you see who I am? I am Brian, a man destined to become the 6th Earl of the Ikes family. Hearing Waylin's affirmation, Brian was very showy and said loudly. Suddenly, Brian seemed to remember something and asked without hesitation, Waylin, didn't you say you would stay in the Eagle territory when you were a child? Why did you run out to be a pioneer knight? It's a long story, so I won't talk about it. Just think of it as something I suddenly realized. That's right. As a man of the Ikes family, you must become a pioneer knight and fight for your own territory. This is worthy of your ancestors. Okay, cousin, let's talk about this later. Take me to visit your castle first. I can't wait to learn about your fortress. Waylin hurriedly interrupted Brian and changed the subject, fearing that he could talk here for hours. Entering the hall, I saw a gentleman-looking man hiding in a chair and drinking tea quietly. Wellin, this is Alec, it's, Baron Brian touched the back of his head, and for a moment he couldn't remember how to let Waylin address him. Waylin, who had done his homework, rolled his eyes at Brian, stepped forward to hug the strange man, and said kindly, Cousin Alec, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad to meet you, my brother. Alec was suddenly hugged, stunned for a moment, then reacted and responded to Waylin with the same attitude. Baron Brian on the side smiled awkwardly. He has always been confused about the various relationships in the family and often recognizes his own relatives by mistake. Master, the banquet is ready. Please move to the living room. A butler with a grey beard came to the hall and reported to Brian respectfully. Wellin, Alec, the dinner is ready. Let's go to the banquet first, eat and chat, and let Waylin talk about what happened in the family over the past 30 years. Baron Brian greeted the two and went to his living room. During the dinner, Waylin and Alec had a good chat. The topics included all aspects, including the kingdom's politics, geography, neighboring countries and other topics. It can be said that they talked about everything. Looking at the two people who had a harmonious relationship, Brian was very happy. He was happy from the bottom of his heart that his cousin and his brother got along so well, but what he didn't know was that although Waylin and Alec talked about everything, they were wary of each other and did a lot of superficial work. As time passed, the dinner ended, and Waylin dragged his tired body to the room arranged by Brian. Lying in bed, Waylin closed his eyes, recalled the conversation at the dinner, combined with the information he got from Baron Olcott, and thought about which place in the Grey Wasteland would be the best initial direction. He had only one requirement, to ensure safety first, and then talk about other things. Brian and Alec both recommended Waylin to explore the northwest direction of the Grey Wasteland, which was contrary to the direction recommended by Baron Olcott, due to the information obtained by Fate. The direction recommended by Baron Olcott was not advisable, so only the northwest direction of the Grey Wasteland remained. In this way, isn't it equivalent to having no choice? If he doesn't consider the risks, the southwest direction of the Grey Wasteland is a good choice. No matter, safety first, choose the northwest direction. With the guidance of fate, when I become strong, the entire Grey Wasteland will be mine. Will I still need to choose at that time? After making up his mind, Waylin began to fall asleep.